A hero in a nightmare. Izuku Midoriya is 5 years old when this happens to him. Deku, over the range of time, would be a very helpful young man. He would help Inko with groceries, Mitsuki groceries, help anyone in need that he can find, that he can help. He was a very kind young man. He always loved helping everyone, a ladies' man, if you will. And what would happen is that recently Hisashi Midoriya would have sent a gift over from overseas. A very small TV that has an eye on the back of it. Hisashi would say that there's only 3 of these in the world and that the other 2 are in unknown locations. From what they can tell, they don't really know where the other 2 are. So, they would say it's a one of a kind, at least to his wife Inko and Deku. He would say that it's one of a kind over the phone. Of course, though, I never got it to work for some reason. I've tried fixing it, I tried doing other things, but it's a very weird TV. I haven't really gotten a chance to turn it on, due to it declining multiple tries on trying to turn it on. Of course, while this is happening, Mitsuki and Bakugo and Deku would be, I guess, in the store. As you know, the helpful one that Deku is, he would help Mitsuki with everything. Bakugo being jealous due to, the great Mitsuki Bakugo was praising Deku or Izuku Midoriya instead of himself. So he kind of disliked Deku due to him being, a ladies' man, I guess. So, yeah, one reason why Bakugo doesn't like Deku. Of course, though, they were still friends, but that's all happened when everything went downhill. Deku went back home after helping out Mitsuki, as Deku would find a rare TV on the table. He'll find it very weird. So what does a normal kid do? He'll think it's a type of toy TV. So he'll bring it up to his room and try to turn it on. After a couple of minutes, after an hour, he would fail, but eventually when he's sleeping, he would... This would be on a... What was it called? When 2 people... Sleepover, yeah. This would be on the sleepover where Bakugo's at. Or sorry, in the Inko, the Midoriya residence. Bakugo and Midoriya would be trying to turn on this TV, but would not work. Eventually, Deku would be sitting on the floor. Due to, Bakugo, the great Bakugo in his quirk. And Deku, he felt something weird about the TV. Bakugo was the one who brought it up, thinking that if his mother says it's okay, then it's okay. It's just a normal TV, what can it do? Was the boy seriously mistaken? The TV turns on, almost like a static, it showed some type of radio tower, you would say. And this radio tower, was calling to Deku. Calling. As an arm grabbed Deku's legs from the TV, grabbing him. Or more of the line of being sucked into the TV. More of like isekai, but no, not really. Deku screaming his lungs out, not gonna lie. Bakugo finally wakes up after a couple minutes after fighting the hand to kind of, go back to, the bed or floor. So Bakugo does, he grabs Deku's hand as, both hands Deku has are on Bakugo's hands. As Bakugo trying to lift him and then realizes I don't have to worry about my mother disciplining me if you're out the way. As you know, Bakugo practically pulls a 6 and like, whoa, let's go of Deku's hand. Or more of the line uses his quirk blowing Deku back, due to, Deku knowing that he's quirkless. And this is when, how would you say, a giant ruckus will be heard in the room. As soon as Deku's set inside the TV breaks. Like, it's kind of, there's a giant, crack in the TV now. As everyone comes up, and, Bakugo trying to play it off. Mom, the TV, it got Deku, as they'll think of it, and they found evidence that DNA is on the TV, as they'll think of it as some type of quirk malfunction on Deku's part, thinking it's some type of TV record, but no. Now we wake up to a new person called Jack. He's waking up in this world, or more of the lines of born in it. Remember, the Little Nightmares and My Hero Academia timelines are completely different. Especially since the radio tower in multiple instances of the same character being at the same place or, same area in the same timeline. So yes. If you don't like timelines and practically FNAF, this type of timeline stuff, so yeah. Anyways, Jack wakes up. As he's now imprisoned. He doesn't know how. All he remembers is that he's in cuffs and he wants to get out. As Izuku Midoriya was reborn inside of the Little Nightmares universe or world into a person named Jack. Over time, Deku, he wouldn't be in prison, but if you know what I mean, he'd kind of be in a prison. Not on the sanctuary of Very Little Nightmares, but they're about the same time, I'll say. It's in the city, the radio station city, or radio tower city, so yeah. Deku's in a jail cell, walking out, looking. Wow. As you know, the Cinnamon Deku kind of, or technically reborn Deku, would kind of look all over the campus, or, area, seeming that everything's huge. And what does he do? He looks for food, because he's hungry. As he gets this back of the head feeling that something's trying to interfere with his mind. As something, over the lack of time of over a couple years, 5 years, Deku has been over a mutation. The radio tower's magic started manipulating Deku's body. Yes, due to Deku not being technically from this world, the radio station or radio tower will have no effect on his brain. Technically. Manipulated to as well, but when it comes to the body, it manipulated his body to more of a mutation. Unlike other humans, he did not increase in size. Instead, he kind of stayed the same size, and he kind of started seeing illusions, you would say. The radio tower started making him see illusions, and every time Deku slept, he'd see these timelines that he didn't understand, these people he doesn't know. He would kind of draw these memories that aren't his, these memories that are from the future and past. He doesn't know what they mean. He would just think of them as just random things he needs to write down. As the manipulation of the radio tower manipulates him to go to the radio tower, but due to Deku not being a part of this world and being reborn in it, his mind will be more shielded. Yes, manipulated to a certain extent, but over its world now. As Deku kind of... I must write this down. What are these memories? These dreams? These nightmares? These people? As eventually, over the span of 5 years, Deku would slowly mutate Deku's skin and, meeting other characters or monsters, you would say. From the Little Nightmare universe, Deku would hide, and he will be very dusty due to, everything being very dusty, but he would be able to hide very easily. He would hide. He would do whatever it takes to survive with these monsters around. As the dust over the time, the dust kind of makes tar inside of his body due to the just dramatic amount of dust that's inside of his body and lungs would make a tar-like substance. Or exactly, tar. Due to the, stomach acid being hot enough and, over enough time, if you do absorb enough, stuff, it is harmful. But, of course, due to this mixing in with dust, the amount of dust Deku breathes every day would kind of make a type of tar around his face and mouth and whatnot. It wouldn't kill him, but due to the mutation of the radio tower, would mutate his body to the point where dust isn't harmful to him. It kind of uses it as more of a, how do you say, his Deku saliva, everything about Deku just changes. Saliva, either, grayish, translucent to black. Different colors start matching. And over the time, Deku just hides everywhere. Like, he knows what to do. He's more of, attack you before you attack me type of dude. So, yeah. The bullies, they don't have any chance against him. He kind of rips them apart, as the radio tower does make him more feral than they are. And also increases his strength by 3 times and 5 times. And of course, yes, 5 times, that's all I'm making. I'm not making him that overpowered. He's not supposed to be overpowered, that's what I'm saying. 5 times as strong as a normal human. Meaning that the bullies have no chance against him. Bullies get smacked around, breaking. Because let's say over time he does make it to the school, but the teacher isn't yet in this timeline there. So he kind of goes all around the city meeting these monsters and kind of just... Deku, over the span of time, his hunger and eyes... As we go back to when the mutation first started taking over. Deku started seeing these monsters all around him. These things that aren't really there, these illusions in his eyes. His eyes are burning and just these things are too scary for him. He doesn't know what to do until a point he couldn't take it anymore. He clawed out his own eyes, practically making Deku eyeless. And the tar substance would practically be his blood by now. Yes, it would be like a reddish blackish blood, but it would more than likely be black due to the amount of dirtiness everything in the Little Nightmares universe is. Dusty as flip, bro. Anyways. My eyes. I can't take it. As he rips off his eyes, right? Rips out his eyes. As over the time he does slowly walk, and eventually does get some type of echolocation due to the radio tower mutating his body and mutilating it to a certain extent. And eventually making Deku feral. His Deku's skin becomes black, or more of lines of dark gray, due to just, the lack of nutrients and, black blood and whatnot. Anyways. Food. As Deku, he hasn't been able to find food in weeks, in months. Deku becomes to starve himself as he sees the first human thing he sees. And all he can think of is food as he rips the person apart, eating them completely. Eating their organs, eating their livers, eating their kidneys, everything inside their stomach, just eating it. Everything like a zombie, eating everything. As this wouldn't just, kind of calm down his feralness, but it was also calm down his hunger and, his pain for his eyes. Food. As eventually he'll be caught by... He'll eventually be trapped somewhere in the wall. As he does go in and out of the wall over the time, but due to monsters now rapidly being in that location, he has to slowly but surely, take place. As he does hear a knock. Or, he just hears something slip through. As this will be 3. Hello? Anyone here? As Deku... He's been isolated in that room for who knows how long. He does see these, these little humans coming and, giving him sausages and beans and whatnot. He doesn't eat them, or tries not to, eventually. He eats... it only happens a couple times, but, yeah. It only happens when he's really hungry, and, they only come, once a week. So, Deku does eventually become, I need food, I eat you. So, yeah. The characters, they're not scared of him. They are, but, each of them that come are new. So, none of them are the same. He's eating, as he's in a corner full of food, like a chicken monkey is eating. I need food. As he's gobbling it up. Like, the food he has isn't gonna last him a while. He eats a lot due to him having 3 stomachs now. Yes, 3 stomachs. Who's there? Hello? Anyone here? As 3 comes in. As, the dust from her lungs will kind of satisfy you down. Because let's say Deku's place isn't dusty, it's just dirty to a degree. He does, clean it up, but it's more full of blood and, other things that are, used for food. So, yeah. Food. As Deku would attack 3. Not killing her, but after a while he senses that she's not like the rest of the small people. As he'll kind of lick 3 in a type of fashion, as when he opens his mouth, showing 3 tongues. As he goes back to his food. Who are you? What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? I'm 3. I haven't been able to eat food recently due to the janitor. He's been everywhere I've been going, and I'm not sure how much I can keep this up. Deku thinks, as the sniff of another person brought him back to his senses, back to sanity. Still insane, but yeah. So cold. Here. Have this. as he'll give 3 a piece of a loaf of bread. Here, have this. Have this. I think it would be 10 by now, by the way. Thank you. I don't know who you are or what you are, but thank you. Don't thank me. Don't thank me. Thank me later. As over this time, Deku, over a couple, nights, I guess a couple weeks, she does stay there. Deku does get some thoughts about, eating her. But, he's still fighting over the control with the radio tower to complete, the radio tower is trying to, take complete control of Deku, but, his fighting spirit and, both of minds or both entities trying to fight each other, Deku's mind and the radio tower trying to fight each other, creates this monster within Deku. Yeah. She looks so tasty. No, she's fried. She's... where are they? I haven't gotten food in weeks. In days, I need food now. I had to give her the rest of my food. As this boot will be over the time span on the Very Little Nightmares game on mobile. This will be in that timeline. So where all of this has happening is also happening in the same time that the Very Little Nightmares events are happening. As slowly but surely, instead of being, completely hostile towards her, trying to back her off, trying not to hurt her, Deku does eventually warm up to her. So 3, what's this janitor you keep on talking about? It's so cold. I need a new home. I need food quickly. These creatures aren't enough to satisfy me anymore. As eventually, him and 3 would kind of, leave their base of operation due to the, eventually at one point, if this is the library, if you haven't figured out, this is the library. In a crack in the wall. So, yeah. Food. They haven't came in who knows how long. 2-3 days. I don't need sleep. I need answers. I need food. As Deku's getting a little restless, that mentality of hunger starts coming back to him. So once a day, he does, walk 2-3 once in a while, thinking about trying to eat her, but eventually not. He's trying to protect her, but at the same time, they've been with a friendship bond for now. And over that bond, him and 3 got along very well. Yes, they do, have differences, but they don't care about differences. They only care about survival. And they realize the only way they're going to survive is if they work together. Yes. As you know, Deku's getting food. And due to him being blind, like the janitor, and instead of the janitor, how the janitor uses touch, and, that's all practically, hearing. Deku uses hearing, touch, and echolocation. Kind of like a bat. So, yeah. He's like if the janitor had echolocation, practically, but, smaller, humanoid. So, yeah. And also he's Eyeless Jack, practically, if you haven't gotten the plot, practically, at this point. And every time Deku does eat, he does face away and, put his hood, or not hood, I guess he would have in this timeline he would have a little hero, the All Might little, onesie he would have. So, he puts that over his head. Wait, no, not technically? No, that wouldn't... You know what? Yeah, why not? Deku has that All Might onesie on. It's dramatically stretched due to reasoning. He wasn't able to find any clothes due to him not carrying. He mostly lies wait for food, and if the food doesn't come to him, then he kind of hunts the down things. And, he has due to, he sees himself as freaking, out of this entire time, 3 hasn't found out what he looks like. She hasn't found out at all, so, yeah. But Jack does realize that something's wrong with 3 due to, the amount of coughing. He knows why he has tar, and, he knows why he, coughs and whatnot. But he doesn't know why she's coughing. So eventually, weirdly doctor-ish, he kind of, when she's sleeping, he kind of puts his head on her stomach, kind of, listening to things due to him having echolocation. He concentrates. And, the breathing techniques, he'll find out that she does have dust, and whatnot. So he does, try to find medicine that can kind of not take out the dust from her lungs, but kind of disintegrate it, kind of like a steroid that can, or, a bodily function, or, some type of liquid that can kind of, medicine that can kind of burn all the dust away without harming her. So Deku does kind of, go outside, the library, looking, and, eventually it's kind of a one-way thing where, him and the janitor are kind of like, they're like right next to each other, but due to both of them being very quiet, they don't really sense each other, so kind of like threat on threat. They can be like right in front of each other, but they don't notice it. So he kind of follows his smell. And eventually will lead him to the kitchen, which the twins are there. As he does find some stuff, but eventually he does find a book, medicine book, a very small medicine book. He doesn't know how to read, but it's a picture book, so yeah, kind of like a crafting table almost, but a book. So he looks through things, giving him like some things that can make not potions, but medicines, and things that can help bandages, kind of like a beginner survival guide, practically like a survival guide almost, like in the wild survival guide, like leaves and whatnot, like all that other stuff. It's here. I see. So he just goes on like a rampage looking for like medicine. And eventually Deku does stop talking due to, just the amount of, dust and tar that are in his lungs. Because, yes, I did say it doesn't, hurt him, but it does stop his, voice box from actually talking. But he is still able to eat. His stomach's acid is, like, it's a dark substance. Same with Deku's saliva. It's very dark. So, yeah. Oh, wait, I'm not supposed to be eating. I'm supposed to be looking for medicine. Yes. Sorry, got off track. Food. There's over time he does see, over time in 3 days, Deku does find the right things to give 3. But, right as, the last thing he does give 3, something falls off their base. As, who shows up? The janitor. As the janitor shows up and kind of punches the wall. Kind of knocking Deku and, waking up 3. Or wait, no, I believe 3 down. Wait, no. Okay, so not waking up 3, as you know, Deku falls to the ground. As you know, it's kind of a 1v1 between him and the janitor, and due to him having like 5 times, due to the radio tower, there's a mutation on him. You know, he is physically, you know, stronger and buffer than 3 is, due to him eating a lot more. Cause what I tell you how much he eats like, he eats, of course, 5 times or 10 times the amount of a normal human being. So he eats a lot, and he has a very fast metabolism. So he like every like hour he has to eat something. Like every hour he has to eat something. It has to be like either something. I guess he doesn't have to, but every day he does have to eat like a 3-course meal, like breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If he doesn't, you know, he will, you know. Well, his breakfast, lunch, and dinner are more of like a pile of food he kind of eats and kind of stores, but due to, you know, him having to, you know, look for like, you know, double what he gets due to, you know, 3 being there, he does, you know, get caught by the janitor, and, you know, that's what leads to this. 1v1, janitor versus Jack. Who would win a death battle? As you know, it's kind of, you know, the janitor does try to grab Deku, but due to Deku having, you know, natural fast reflexes, instincts, and, you know, kind of fast echolocation, he kind of, how would you say, his reflexes and instincts are a lot more quicker than the average human being, almost to the point of instant, or technically is instant, but I mean, as soon as the action is, like, as soon as something is thrown at Deku, he instantly knows where it is, due to the movement in air and, you know, echolocation, so he can easily catch it. But he can't see their face, though. Like, he sees an outline of them. He's able to see the outline of someone, but not the actual, you know, features of someone. So, yeah. It's also seen as, like, a white outline, like, with everything's black, and then, you know, there's, like, a white outline where people are at, or, you know, anything else is that, kind of like a white outline. How does this, I'll say for reasons, I'll say the book he does have is, hang how would I have to explain? You know, I'll say it's one of those, you know, handbooks where you gotta feel it. Yeah, that makes sense. Because I did say he does, you know, he does kind of read it, but I just explained how he sees. So, he's also able to feel heartbeats as well. Like how fast a heartbeat is and, you know, whatnot. He's also able to see, like, heat to a certain extent. Like, the white outline is, he has 3 modes to his eyes. More of lines of lightness and darkness. You know, darkness is kind of, you know, what I just said. You know, no, I'm not gonna make him. I did say he wasn't gonna be that overpowered. So I'll say he's only able to see, you know, the darkness with, you know, white outline for people. He does see, you know, the janitor, and due to, you know, the echolocation, it does see him as a still object every time he does stay still, or, you know, moves. So, you know, he's able to see him. As you know, he kind of growls at the janitor, and the janitor growls back. As you know, it's a 1v1 fight. As you know, Deku, he's not losing this fight. He's a very feral person, you know. I'll say he doesn't have, you know, I'll say at one point he wasn't able to dodge the janitor and kind of rips up the All Might onesie he had on. So he no longer has the hood. Kind of like almost, it went for his head, kind of rip off his head, but, you know, it kind of went for, it took the hood instead, destroying like the entire back portion, or half of the back portion of Deku's neck, or Deku's hoodie and jacket, just destroying it. It has cuts and all that on Deck. It's a pretty decent fight. Kind of swing. Eventually Deku does. He gets caught by his hoodie, as 3 has to show up and kind of bring over, make a lot of noise so he can bring the janitor, or she can bring the janitor over. As the janitor kind of goes for her due to her making the most noise and able to, sense her the most. And, the janitor kind of grabs her and kind of, what he does to his victims, he kind of puts them in a sack or some sort. So, eventually 3 is put into a sack, unable to breathe. And, eventually a couple days pass. A couple hours pass. So, Deku does look for the janitor, unable to find him, but eventually, they're backtracking. He does remember that 3 did make a small map on where, what not to go, and, kind of X's around the places you don't go. So, he feels the bumps in the paper to kind of, so this is where they are. So, he finds a red X. Every red X is, the places not to go. And so he eventually does find the janitor. As right now, 3 isn't in the best condition. Kind of, in the sack. Kind of, also very hungry. After being hit by the janitor a couple times, she's not very good. She on death's door right now. So, something woken in Deku. Something that he never thought he'd awaken. Deku's now 11, by the way. As when the janitor took 3 was his best friend. So when he took 3, he flipped. He went caveman mode, pharaoh mode. So, after preparing, because more of the lines of him losing his sanity and kind of, that inner beast I told you about earlier, that, after, Deku's mind, the radio tower fight over, I did tell you it made a monster. Deku becomes that monster. Every time he loses control, gets too angry, he becomes that monster, or too hungry. So yeah, he releases it, that wrath, ooh! He's climbing. He's on the roof, climbing the chains and whatnot, and eventually lands right on top of the janitor and kind of rips his costume apart, I guess, or the skin he has apart. And he doesn't stop there. He goes inside of the janitor's skin and kind of I'll say janitor does have eyes, but it was only one eye that he was able to see through, and the other eye was technically covered by his skin. So, yeah. Until, he was like, nah, he's on a rampage. So, yeah, he kind of ripped him apart, or, took both his eyes out. As in canon, the janitor becomes completely dependent on noise. Because before the janitor had eyes, but, kind of the skin, this is the reason the janitor doesn't have eyes. So, yeah, or he can't see. So he doesn't kill the janitor, but he does mess up the janitor's face. So, the janitor does have to go back to the doctor to get, new skin. Of course, after trying to chase down Deku, Deku eventually he gets that smell and kind of finds where 3 is by her smell and heartbeat. Her heartbeat is very, slim, but he does find her. He cuts down, the bag. He kind of holds her bridal style, kind of bringing her to another base he has, but it's not like a base, but it's more of like this is where he's kind of like he has the storage different from where his home is. His home is where he has the food, and his storage is where he has the random stuff he keeps. So he kind of rips open the potato bag that's that capture that's 3 is in, and kind of gets 3 out. As 3 has multiple broken bones, and kind of unconscious. So Deku he like this man after he does eventually he kind of bites down on 3, but not tearing, kind of remembering the memories. He like right now because he does every time he does become a monster, it leads more to the radio station side. So he does become more of a radio station monster, but a radio tower monster. So he does bite 3. But eventually, as he bites 3, all those memories of him and 3 kind of come back to him, giving him back his senses as he, his mouth kind of, gets off 3. So yeah, he was about to devour like a zombie, but he got back to his senses. As he does, smack his head into the wall a couple times before getting complete control. As eventually he does eventually find books, and he feel like he's able to smell ingredients for healing things. So over time he does have to painfully, while she's unconscious, put her bones back in place because her bones were out of place. So he had to put all of them back in place. Not just that, but kind of have her paralyzed so she wouldn't injure herself. So eventually 3 does wake up, but her neck hurts. I wonder why. Anyways, her neck hurts, and her entire body hurts. I mean, also besides her neck. But the only reason her neck hurts, Deku, and her body hurts because of being punched like 3 times by the janitor. So yeah. Anyways, she tries to get up, but she figures out that, hey, why can't I move? She freaks out. She thinks that it's the janitor. As Deku comes out the shadows, not with a mask, but kind of covering his face, like the shadows cover his face. Don't get up. Stay down. I finished putting all your bones back in place. There's a lot of grunting in your position. You should wait a couple days until you can move. I think it's best if you relax. I'll take care of you for the next month. It's practically like a Tanjiro and kind of like Nezuko bond, where he kind of has to have her on his back at all times, and he does move slowly, but he does have sticks to put on 3 to kind of prevent the bone from getting back out of place. So kind of makeshift stables to make sure bones don't break. So kind of she's able to move, but very restrictedly. She can't bend certain points of her arms and whatnot. So she's kind of Dr. Deku's kind of, he doesn't know much about healing, but he does know medicine and whatnot, like the basic medicines to like heal a person or numb pain. He knows like the basics of medicines. He knows healing, um, painkillers, kind of not paralyzing, but kind of, muscle relaxer, which is practically like paralyzing practically, and a couple other things he knows of. But he taught himself how to, feel these things because, he has these bottles in his, at least used to be base where they had bumps on them. He's reading them. Because eventually he taught himself how to read, but he's kind of, is a bit, different. So he kind of, it's complicated. He knows how to craft them by hand as well. Like his things aren't as good as the actual medicine, but the things he does make are very, if you do need them like extremely like on deathbed, they will extremely help you, but not to full recovery. Just more of a not sensu bean, but kind of healing potion almost. Like a 25% healing potion. Like it'll make sure you won't die at all, but it doesn't, completely heal you. So yeah. So where are you going? We're getting you medicine. I found some plants that may be useful. What do you mean? I found salt and other things that may stop bleeding. Of course, due to Tar, she is very sick and, she's in, best condition in general. So, the only reason he isn't, raging out, because he does have a blood fetish. So, he does, like shark, great white shark, as soon as, blood is in his nose, his eyes, or sorry, not his eyes, his personality does shift to monstrous mode, kind of, fading frenzy, so yeah. So due to her having, dust around her and, her wounds covering up and being infected by dust, doesn't actually have Deku smell it. More of the dust only. So yeah. Eventually, this will be, I believe, after facing the janitor. Who else will they face? I'll say when they were fighting the janitor went back to the doctor. And the doctor's kind of... If you know who the doctor is, then yeah, from the Nightmares, the doctor kind of healed, or give, the janitor new skin. So that's what happens, and who else would I want to fight? I think this is a good time to set the next timeline. So this will be the ending. This will be right at the same time of the ending of Very Little Nightmares. Meaning that the girl with the yellow raincoat has died due to the Pretender, and 6 escaped using a boat, meaning that the yellow raincoat goes to the city and 6 eventually gets trapped by the hunter. So yes. And now I'll say those check marks that 6 was writing, or chalk marks she was writing, were months or weeks. You know what? For reasons, I'll say weeks, because I do need some. Okay, I'll say each. 1, 2. I'll say they're weeks. Yeah. And would I want to make this longer? Because I do got a couple other characters to introduce. You know what? I'll end this for now. I'll have the second part out right after this one. Maybe. Anyways, hope you liked my My Hero Academia X Little Nightmares thing. So yeah. I'll see you on the next video.